Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, is in focus now. Ambassador, I want to start first with this idea of winning. I mean, we saw Senator Mitch McConnell, leader of Republicans in the Senate, say win should be the objective. Yet the White House barely will say the word. The president won't indicate to us whether or not that's the goal. Are we stuck in a quagmire of just messaging right now?
Good morning, Harris. This shouldn't be that hard. And winning is hugely important at this point because you're not just winning for Ukraine, you're winning for freedom. You're winning for sovereignty. And we have to do this and we have to commit. And this goes back to the fact that the Biden administration has been slow to react, slow to speak, slow to act. All of those things, when we should be in front of this. We should be stopping things before they happen. We should be preventing war. We should be preventing invasions, and we should be making sure the world knows that we will stand for freedom every time it's threatened.
Well, then we better get with it, because China's certainly looking at Taiwan. Here's a follow-up. What is a win? What does that look like?
Well, I think we need to get, Russia to move back, right? Now, is that going to happen quickly? No. But I think what's really important is I do think it's important that Biden is going to Europe and speaking with NATO and the EU and G7. I think that's going to be hugely important. But what does he talk about? They should absolutely talk about getting Ukraine what they've asked for, which is those planes. Make sure they get the planes from Poland. Help Poland facilitate that. Let's get that done. The second thing is get them the humanitarian help they need. These Ukrainians are fighting hard. We've got to make sure that they're getting food and water and aid so that they can continue to keep their strength. Thirdly, we've got to have a strong conversation with our European brothers and sisters about how they become independent from Russia when it comes to energy. We've got to talk about liquefied natural gas. We've got to talk about how we can do this quickly. And then lastly, they have to make sure they talk about, one, how they are going to prevent chemical weapons from being used, because you shouldn't assume that's not going to happen. You should make sure that happens. And secondly, how you're going to deal with China, because China is helping Russia and we need to be a part of that.
Okay, so there's breaking news that I want to get to on that, and that has to do, our reporter Jillian Turner bringing this into the newsroom. NATO now wants to send Ukraine cybersecurity equipment to protect against chemical weapons, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. Just a quick reaction to that, and we'll move on.
Very important. We should absolutely do it. We shouldn't wait. The second Putin already started talking about labs in Ukraine. We've seen this movie in Syria where they go and they say that, and then the next thing you know, they use chemical weapons. They use it when they can't get past the resistance, and it wipes out a group of people. We absolutely have to prevent this, and that means they need to be sending that and including our intelligence. We should be sharing intelligence with the Ukrainians so we can let them know when this would be used, where it would be used.
Real-time intelligence is what you're talking about. Ambassador, yes. You were speaking about the trip to Europe and maybe showing people what it could look like to live without Russian energy. We could lead the way in that. I don't know if that's what the president meant, but here's what he said about a new world order.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there. And we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
What is he talking about?
I don't know what he's talking about, but I can tell you we do need to lead the world. We do need to lead the world to make sure that that none of our allies are dependent on enemies. And that includes Europe. They need to make sure that they're not dependent anymore. Germany needs to look at restarting those nuclear plants that they are just worked on shutting down. We need to look at exporting liquefied natural gas. And we need to make sure they're all energy independent. Poland and Lithuania are now getting it from Australia. We need to look at every one of our allies and say, how do we help you get off of it? And then we need to double down. We need to double down on fracking. We need to double down on everything we need to do as a country to make sure that we're energy independent as well.
Ambassador Haley, thank you very much for being in focus today. A lot more news coming up. I look forward to having you back.